Hi, I'm Angel Davis with Angel Davis Coaching, and you are listening to Verbally Naked, a podcast devoted to the enhancement of relationships. I'm here with my husband,
That's right.
Peter Hermes.
Hello.
You are listening to the wedding edition.
Yes, we're taking a break from, well, we took a break.
Well, we took a break. We took a very long break.
That's right.
We're back for the second half of,
Second half of season 2,
right?
and we're starting it off with a special edition. Normally we would be talking about mass media and
Yeah, we're focusing this
TV
year. We're
shows and things
focusing
of that
on
nature.
how social media impacts our relationships.
Not just social media.
Well, not just social media, but media, just media
Sure.
in general, magazines, songs, music, movies.
Mhm. But this time, our welcome back episode,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about getting married.
We did. We got married, Peter Hermes.
That's right, Angel Davis.
Yeah. So we thought we would talk a little bit about what that experience was like, and what we were kind of left with. I don't know. Should I talk about, for those who might just be tuning in, what's unique about our relationship?
Well, sure. Give a small recap.
Yeah. So I am a widow, and Peter actually knew my late husband.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 7-year-old daughter. So Peter's become her bonus dad over the last couple of years, and
In the process of adoption right now, actually.
so yes. So here we are. Through all of that experience, our friendship that we had turned into more, and we got married.
Yes.
A month ago. Almost a month ago.
Not quite.
A couple of days. So, Peter,
Mm-hmm.
what was planning together like for you?
You mean the year, the 8 months or so leading up to the marriage? Leading up to the actual day?
Yeah, like just from the beginning when you proposed, and we set a date, and then we started planning how we wanted this thing to go. And how was that for you doing it together?
I thought it went very well. In my past relationships, I've had a very difficult time working together with a significant other in planning things. Heads clash and egos, and it's never been a very positive experience. But with you, I thought everything went really well. I think that we want the same things. We think alike. There was never, there were certainly some disagreements, but nothing that turned into, yeah, I can't believe that you want this and I want that.
Right.
It just turned into, well, okay, let's talk that through
Right.
and figure out what's best for both of us, for all of us. And, it took us a little time to figure out our venue. We looked at quite a few places. We knew from the get-go that we were going to be getting married in Oklahoma. Even that.
Yeah.
If we want to go to the way back of the planning,
Yeah.
before we even figured that out, I wanted to do a small ceremony here in California, and I only wanted us to invite, a max of, say, 10 people each.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more we talked about it, the more we realized that was undoable. And so it turned into either we're not going to have anybody or we're going to have everybody. And it turned out that we're having everybody, because there are
Yeah,
I have a very small family. You have
Right.
a very large family,
Yes.
and you have many different sides of your family to
Yes.
consider.
Yeah.
I don't have that. And my family, I could get away with just having my dad and my brother, and you couldn't. I don't think you could do that. You have too many very, very close friends, too many brothers and cousins. I mean, there's too many. There's too many people for you to not
Exclude.
to not include
Yeah.
in your big day.
Yeah.
And so right there we were like, okay, we're gonna have
Yeah.
over 150 people. Can we even do that in California? Everybody lives
In the
either in
Midwest. Most of
Oklahoma,
our family
yeah.
lives in the Midwest. Yeah. I mean, it was a,
So right away we were like, we're having an Oklahoma City wedding.
yeah. You know,
Which is
it
fun.
wasn't just that I mean, you're right. I do have, I'm very, you know, I have both my mom and my father's side of the family, but also I am still very close to my late husband's family. And, it wasn't just, you know, oh, I have to have everybody, but it was also, everybody's been on this journey with me since my, Bradley was my late husband, since Brad died. And, it just seemed somehow incomplete to me to not include them in this sort of full circle thing that's happened over the last few years,
Sure.
actually. So, yeah, so I agree with you. I think we worked really well together. And I think, yeah.
I mean, all the way through picking a location, you know, we looked at several different places. We started planning when my mother was still alive.
Yes.
And the plan was to have her do, you know, at least a chunk of some of the planning, because she was on the ground in Oklahoma City, and she's very good, and she wants to. She loves. She's a great party planner.
Yeah, she is.
And,
she was.
And
yeah.
then when she passed away last summer, we basically made a decision that she would have been basically our wedding planner, in kind of in a weird sort of way. And then when she passed away, we realized that we were going to have to do it ourselves, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then very quickly we set about picking a location and doing ring. I mean, just all of it, even when it came down to invitations and all the paper, not the paperwork, but all the programs and all the design elements that you do.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah, like I think we established,
we agreed just about on everything.
We established early on that we wanted it to be simply elegant. Is what sort of our theme. But we didn't, even though there was quite a few people, more than you certainly expected in the beginning, we really wanted it to stay us.
Absolutely.
And neither one of us are really
no fanfare
people. We're just not.
We don't do limos. We don't do.
No, not that.
Even wedding, we decided to not even do wedding parties.
No, we didn't. We didn't. No bridesmaids, no groomsmen.
And we certainly had enough people on both of our sides that we could have done that. But that just it turns into a thing, and it's just like it's. I've stood in many weddings. As a groomsman, and
all of us have.
And it's just, and all of those weddings were fantastic. And, I was honored to be part of them, but I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that bad. Like, my brother was like, do you want me to be your best man? I was like, well, I'm not really doing. I mean, you can take me, no offense, but I mean, you can take me out a couple of nights before the wedding and ply me with beer and the last single thing and all of that stuff, which he ended up doing. But as far as it went, I had him witness the signature on
and
the
my
legal
brother
document.
Was the witness, right? Yeah.
But we didn't do wedding parties. We didn't do any of that stuff. It was
just
literally, it was a wedding between the two of us, and then Brian was involved, and then there was a whole crowd of people.
Yeah. I will say, and then we can move on. I will say that kind of my favorite part of what we did do was involve a lot of our community in terms of, our officiant was one of a really dear friend of mine, who was one of kind of the first people that you got introduced to, who sat down and chatted with you and kind of got to know a little bit about your world. And you guys connected really instantly. Mm-hmm. And so we both thought of her when we were trying to come up with people who kind of knew both of us, but wasn't necessarily totally one-sided, even though I know her, obviously.
Sure.
But she came to us both at the same time. So And then my good friend, Michael, who sang the song, our processional song.
Mm.
My friend Renee, whose band is amazing. We hired her band. It was like everybody, but even like my friends who were just, let me take care of this, or let the day of. It's just like we invited all these people into that part of the process, and it made it feel more like this. I don't know, like it made it more special, being able to call upon those that we knew really well, or all the suggestions for the people we didn't know well, like our photographer, the flowers. I got from really close people that I trusted, and it was like, okay,
Mm-hmm. Everything fell into place pretty well.
Yeah.
I can't think of any sticky situations where we really had to scramble and figure it out. I mean, we found the photographer very easily. We went through a couple of, different florists until we were like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And we went very simple.
My flowers were so simple.
She didn't even carry a bouquet. I mean, it was as
No, I
simple.
didn't want a bouquet. Yeah.
And I don't want to jump ahead, but that was one of the things that people really appreciated. We heard it so many times that it was one of the most authentic weddings that a lot of people had been to. There was nothing to distract you from just the moment, and people really appreciated that, because most of these weddings are,
well, they're a big, that's a to-do. I get it. I mean, but yeah, there's obviously we could have had a ton more fanfare than we had. Sure. and we just didn't want it, and we didn't have it. Any thoughts for you leading up to the big day, like the week of or the night before? Like, what we didn't really talk about that as we approached, like during that week, we didn't really talk about how you're feeling, any thoughts, what's going through your mind. Did you have anything that? Well,
of course. I mean, as far as I was concerned.
So you almost backed out.
Well, I was halfway to the state line. No, everybody leading up, and that week leading up to the actual day, everybody's like, "Are you nervous?" And and it was like, "No, I'm not nervous. I'm excited." And it just, I think at that point, it just was like, this is the thing that we need to do, and so that it's done. Because as far as I was concerned, we were already married without, we lived together, and
great. There goes like all the people who thought I was like really sweet and innocent.
But no, everybody, I was excited. I waited a little bit, maybe too long, to write my vows. But I took a portion of about 3 days to actually sit down and write. But I had been formulating my thoughts for a while.
Oh, really?
And you had written your vows.
Oh, really?
3 years ago. And so
no,
I wrote mine 4 days before the wedding.
I did. For those listening, I did not write my vows 3 years ago. I collected little bits of things that would come to my mind about, if we, I don't know, maybe we had a really nice weekend, or maybe we had a really engaging conversation, and things would come into my head about what I wanted to say to you leading up to this day. So I had a running note that I would just add to. And then towards, as it got closer to time, I formulated all those notes into what people witnessed as my vows to you.
Mm-hmm.
That was not 3 years ago, but was I planning ahead? Yeah.
Right. I was just gonna wing it.
Yeah. Apparently,
it didn't work out that way, and it's a good thing. I mean, that was another comment that we got. The vows were very honest and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And we heard audible gasps.
Did you hear audible gasps?
And we both got applause after our vows.
There was some
which was
interesting.
Great.
Well, I love that. Yeah, but that was one of the things that made it unique. Is like there was there was laughter, there was tears, there was laughter coming out from everybody. It was a really joyous thing to kind of be a part of. But like, I did want to piggyback on you were saying about being nervous. I wasn't nervous either. I was just excited.
Oh yeah.
It was just like, oh my gosh, it's finally here. We've been doing all this planning, and everything was just coming together. Like we had a few people who ended up not being able to come, which is expected towards, the end.
And then we had a lot of people who we didn't think were going to be there. They were like, hey, we're going to be there.
You're like, oh, okay.
So we ended up going about 20 over.
But
over the capacity
of the ceremony
of what they
room.
Told us that we could fit in there. But they
were
put
lovely.
More chairs in.
They made it. Our venue made it work. But not just that. It
what
was
do we
just
have? 185. Somewhere like that.
More like 190. But
we had 190 people at our wedding.
But I wasn't. It was just that everything was falling into place. There was just no drama. There was no, oh gosh, we can't get this now, and this fell apart. It was just like,
because we kept it simple.
Yeah,
the more complicated you make it, the more problems that are going to arise.
So by the time people started arriving into town, it was like it's officially a 48-hour party from here on out.
Mm-hmm. We had a party the night before.
Yeah,
not for everybody. So if you're listening to this and you didn't get invited to that, sorry. My dad's house couldn't fit 190 people.
Wow, we made it specific for mostly the out-of-towners because we didn't want them to not have anything to do. And then just all of our immediate families. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So we did something that apparently is becoming more popular now, which was a first look.
We did. And that was our photographer's idea.
Well, based on her getting to know us and how we just kept reiterating, we don't want a lot to do. We're not a big fanfare people. We just want to get to the good stuff of the wedding and then have everybody party and have a great time. We don't want to waste a lot of time.
Right.
And so she was like, what do you think about a first look? And I didn't know what that was, so I'm going to say it because, I'm sure most of you that might be listening might know. But a first look is where you and your spouse-to-be actually get to see each other before the ceremony. So you actually have your first encounter with each other the day of the wedding before anybody else. And before you get to the altar.
But we had already seen each other earlier that day. This is the first time in full dress.
In full dress. Yeah.
Right.
Well, sure. So instead of him seeing me for the first time as I'm walking down the aisle, we had our moment about 30 minutes before the ceremony. Well, about an hour before the ceremony. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I'm waiting to see the pictures. It was very cool. We got married at the Skirvin in downtown Oklahoma City.
Shout out.
And they were lovely. And it's a historic Oklahoma City hotel built back in the day, and it's very old timey but nice. And they have this thing they call the Grand Staircase or whatever. It's all marble and it's all white.
It's beautiful.
It's very nice. And so I was told to stand at the bottom of the stairs and look out the window so that I couldn't see her. And then she took her place up top, and then the photographer had her start coming down, and she started snapping pictures. And then at some point she told me to turn around, and which I did. And I saw you for the first time. And Angel wore red, and she looked beautiful. And I wore blue, and I looked beautiful.
You looked beautiful.
Thank you.
I was very nervous that you were going to outshine me, but because you looked so gorgeous.
Well, my biggest, I guess, regret or complaint about the wedding is the second haircut I got. So I got a preliminary haircut a couple of weeks before the wedding, and then I was like, I'll go get it touched up like the day before the wedding. And oh my goodness, I think I had a military buzz cut.
Yeah.
And that would be my only thing. And then I had Brian gel it, which basically meant that it was just I was a peacock. So
Well,
that would be my
okay,
only.
but that just has nothing to
that
do with the
doesn't.
first look.
That doesn't.
You did not answer my question. How was that for you?
It was great.
That was probably, if I had to say that there's any moment the day of that I was nervous, that was the moment, because we knew the colors that each other were wearing, but we didn't know exactly. I didn't know what a suit looked like. He didn't know what my dress looked like. He only knew the color. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like I expected you to be like, is that what you're wearing?
Yeah, right. You're going to change, right?
Right. But it was just this moment of like pure like excitement and nervousness.
My heart certainly
like,
skipped when I turned around.
Hi. Yeah. And it was just it was very sweet. I don't know. I kind of would encourage it because I felt like it is a really authentic moment that only you two get to have. I mean, the photographer is there, but you know, it's different. Wasn't it different when we were in front of everybody?
In the ceremony?
Yeah.
Well, it took, logistically speaking, we had to do something like that, because there was no way that we would not have seen each other before walking down the aisle, because there was one holding room for everybody, and we all gathered in there until everybody got into the ceremony room, and then we all kind of made our way. So we would have seen, our first look would have been in that room.
Well, we would have figured out a different way to handle it if we didn't.
It took a lot of
pressure
pressure off. That part of it.
Yeah. But I felt like, I mean, not that you're not having authentic, obviously, moments if you don't do it that way. But I do feel like it's very different when, let's say, there was 100-something people looking at you for the first time, both of you. I think there is a little bit different than just the two of us getting to have that moment all by ourselves. I mean, you know, my girlfriends weren't, you know, a lot of close people were there by that time, but we did not allow anybody else to see us. It was just us and the photographer until our immediate family joined us.
Right.
Yeah. And then, you know, friends came to help get everybody down there and all that stuff. But
sure.
I don't know.
I thought it was fine.
I thought it was great.
It
was a nice addition, and I'm glad she encouraged
and
that.
we ended up doing several other photographs. She took us outside and around the building kind of stuff. So I thought
that also cut down on the time after the wedding. After the ceremony, rather, you know, usually you're waiting because the bride and the groom and all 25,000 bridesmaids.
Right. We did everything before, right?
Groomsmen, right?
We really didn't do anything
Usually
after.
You take photos after, and everybody's getting their food, and everybody's waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Right. We got it all taken care of.
It was like after everybody was done eating or pretty much into the meal, we were ready. It's like, okay, let's do this.
Right.
So I thought that
we just went back and
that allowed
fed ourselves and had a glass of wine to, you know, to celebrate.
Yeah. And I thought that allowed for us to really be able to spend more time doing what we wanted to do, which is just celebrate.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So any moments that stood out to you that were your favorite moments that you recall, play over in your head?
Well, we decided early on that we were going to do tributes to
our parents that
to
passed
my
away.
mother and your father, who both passed away in 2016. And so that was, and we planned that out to where when we walked down or when the processional and we were standing there, there was going to be a moment before we all started that we just walk over and light a couple of candles. I thought that was very nice. That was a nice moment because I really wish my mother could have seen me get married. That's a tough one for me. And if we would have known that she was going to pass when she did, we probably would have done just in front of her marriage ceremony, just for her. And then this would have been just for show without us telling anybody. So that was a nice moment. I thought our first dance was nice. And then we did our second dance, I guess. We only did 2 dances. One was the two of us, and then the second one was the three of us. Basically, you danced with Brian, and then I came, and we all danced together. The ceremony is a blur, a little bit. It was great. I mean, all eyes were on us. It was a full packed room. Reading the vows was a challenge. Just keeping it together.
Aw.
I mean, as far as moments, I mean, just the whole thing was, it was perfect. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing that didn't need to happen, and there was nothing that we missed.
Yeah. I agree. The moments that I replay in my head, I definitely replay our vows, just because it was just such a touching experience to listen to, each other.
Make false promises.
No, I think to make very realistic promises,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I found to be refreshing.
Yeah, there was. Even our vows were simple. Yours were a little longer than mine.
Yeah, but
But
it was very realistic expectations on, what we want from each other, what we want out of our marriage, and what we want to be held accountable to by that community that was watching us.
Right. And we had talked about we weren't a couple of 22-year-olds getting married.
That's true.
We're a couple of
age does make a difference. I want to say that. I think that it does. And
I'm 41.
And
you're almost 40.
Nobody needed to know that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're
but
not a couple of spring chickens.
We're not. But also, again, we have a very unique experience.
Right.
I was married before, and, never expected to get married after, because I didn't expect to lose him. So,
of course.
This was a very interesting turn of events. And our vows were very touching to me, just to hear, again, the laughter, the tears. But I thought we both held it together pretty well. Mm-hmm. And our first dance, I would agree with the dancing. I think about that moment also, because it was my first time losing it when I picked up Brian. Like, I was doing so well, and then I picked her up, and just remembering Jason Mraz's I Won't Give Up was a song I danced to with my daughter, because that song, I had been singing it to her forever, but it had a whole new meaning after her father died.
Oh, of course.
And it was just like, I don't know, there was this moment of we've made it through, kind of that period of our life. And look where we are now. And I didn't give up, and I kept, pushing as much as I could to give her some sense of normalcy. Also, I walked down the aisle by myself.
That's
because
right.
my dad was gone, and that was a very empowering moment to say, I'm giving myself freely to you.
Right. And we had talked about that. We had, the logistics on who's going to walk down the aisle, all of that stuff. We had planned this, as simple as it was, we planned it out pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And we had talked about that specifically. Do you want my dad to walk you down? Do you want
and
your brother to walk you
down?
down?
And
Do you
I
want
debated
Brian?
for a little while. Right.
Should you walk down with Brian?
Right.
And
I came
and then
to
I
the
was just like, "Well,
conclusion.
you just make that decision."
And I said, "No, I'm gonna do it by myself," because I was leaning that way, and I did, and it just felt right, and it felt I felt really strong and empowered when I stood on that stage with you. And then so those were, and then my brother kind of broke me down too, jerk.
He had a great speech. He spoke second after my father's prepared remarks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he winged it, and he did well.
Yes, he did.
I imagine that he had some thoughts going in, but
I don't know, actually. My family's kind of good on the fly like that. Any regrets?
Just my hair.
In the plan. In the planning, yeah.
Oh,
or anything.
Regrets.
Yeah.
You mean like how I'm going to do it the next time I get married?
Yeah, like the next time you get married, what would you do differently?
No.
You mean besides marrying you? Yeah. No, I don't have any regrets.
I really don't. Regrets that I can, I had no regrets that I could control. My biggest regret was my mother.
Of course.
But there's nothing that I could have done about that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody that I wanted to be there was there. People from, the far reaches of the United States, friends that I've had for a long time, they all came in. And that was great. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I was like, man, I really wish that would have gone a different way. I really do think it was a perfect day. It was, we planned it just right. I think we kept it simple. We didn't go crazy.
Yeah.
And it went off.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you regret?
Yeah, I don't really regret anything. I don't think I would change anything. I thought all of our vendors were really great, which we had very few. We had a photographer and
flowers
the florist.
And cameras.
And then the hotel did everything else, literally everything else. I did have a makeup artist.
Mm-hmm.
And she was great. She did exactly what I wanted. She was very lovely. That's probably the only thing that, wasn't exactly necessary, I guess.
What?
The makeup part, but it was nice.
You look beautiful, though.
Thank you. Yeah, it was nice. She did a really great job. But I just mean that was something that I actually could have done myself. It wasn't. And I don't mean to say, well, I could have done what she did. Not like that. No, she did.
I think we get it.
She did great. No, but I just meant that's something that everybody said, oh, have that done. You don't have to worry about it. It's less blah, blah, blah. But really, that wouldn't have been any stress on me to do it. So, I could take it or leave it. But.
Right. Do we need to talk about the honeymoon real quick, or are we still?
No. That's for another time.
Oh, okay. What else do we want to talk about?
I think you already kind of touched on this, but what do you think your mother would have thought about the wedding?
Well, if my mother was, let's see. I don't think it would have been that different of a wedding, but I do think that it would have been a little bit different. She wouldn't have put up with that no flowers bullshit. She would have had her little hand in a little bit more. We
did have flowers. It's not that we didn't have any.
I know, but
we had a.
I think that she would have thought it was lovely if it was somebody else's kid. What about your dad?
I thought about this earlier. I think my dad would have loved everything, but he would have, prior to, my dad would have been like, you're wearing a red dress.
Right.
Like, I'm sure he would have already been like, you cut your hair. Like, I already knew, like, that was, that would have been an issue. But also, like, the red dress. Like, I think he would have had an issue with it, and he would have kept asking me, why did I choose that, until he saw me.
Right.
Because that was my dad. Like, he always had, like, this issue with something till he saw how it worked, and then he would be like, oh, okay, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that probably would have stood out to him the most, is that I wore a red dress for my wedding.
Oh, okay.
But I think he would have saw me and thought, you look really lovely, and I think he would have thought in the end it fit my personality. It fits who I am. I think he would have thought overall everything was lovely, and I think he would have really enjoyed the band.
Oh, yeah.
And he definitely would have given a speech. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
He would have definitely given a speech. I don't know. Is there anything? Oh, I have something before we go.
Oh.
Because we are talking about how media affects relationships.
Oh, right. Yeah,
How do you think that wedding stacked up to what you see in movies?
Our wedding was an independent movie.
That's a great way to say it.
Our wedding was
We had an
low
indie
budge.
wedding.
It was super low budge.
I mean, I guess it was low budge. I mean, it's not very cheap, but
well,
but comparatively, sure.
it was. It was actually a very cheap wedding. But it's the kind of thing that you would see in a very poignant independent movie where
Yes.
it's about, if you made a movie about our story, it's exactly how
Yeah.
the movie would have ended.
Yeah.
So I think that it's definitely not the kind of wedding that you would see in a Tyler Perry movie, or the kind of wedding that you would see in The Wedding Planner or Father of the Bride. Those are those big,
Right.
expensive limos and
Right.
tuxes and
It's the show.
bouquets and
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
stuff, and where you get married in a giant church that's super stuffy and all of that, and then everybody limos over to wherever the reception's gonna, and it's just like this whole thing where it's like, oh my god. And then while they're inside, they're out painting stuff on the car and doing all that stuff that nobody needs. This wedding,
Not to knock those who are listening and might have done all of those things.
and I bet it was a
We're
fantastic
just talking
wedding.
about our movie.
What we
our
wanted,
wedding.
what we talked about was, this is a celebration. We want to do a very short ceremony, 20 minutes tops, and I think that's basically what we did.
Yeah.
And then we just want the band to play
Mm-hmm.
and grab some food.
Yeah.
The bar is open,
Have a great time.
and just enjoy and meet and mingle with the new family members and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the wedding
Yeah.
that we put together. We didn't spend money when we didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
And when we needed to, it was on the right things.
Yeah, I don't think we lost our way. And I think sometimes
No,
you see
not at
that
all.
in some of the Hollywood movies. It gets too big or it gets whatever, or there's a big fight before the wedding, whatever, yada, yada, yada.
Like even,
And they have, it has to have some dramatic flair, but we,
and just dealing, with the venue, leading up, it's like, we want specific wines, and we were able to get some things. And then when we got into the reception and everybody started dancing, we realized the dance floor was too small. And so I just pulled the
yeah,
staff person and said, can we lose this? Because
Table.
they had a head table,
right, for
like
us.
a long table
Yeah.
just for us, and we weren't going to sit at that table. And so we were like, can you lose that? And within about 7 minutes,
Yeah.
that was gone, and they extended the dance floor,
Yeah.
and it was perfect.
It was so perfect.
And they were great. There
Yeah.
was no drama.
No.
It was just like, what do you need? Great.
Yeah, they were on it.
And the buffet, and we didn't do a cake. We did pie, which, and we didn't even do we didn't do any chicken dancing. We didn't do any of that stuff where, you pull the garter off and you throw the bouquet.
No.
And,
no.
we didn't, and I've been to those weddings, and it's great,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
it's
fun,
fun
and people like to
camaraderie,
chicken
sure.
dance, and people like to watch people shove cake in their faces, and all of that. And we just didn't want to have any of it.
No, we
chose
just wanted
three.
to have a good time with our
Here's
people.
some pie, we
Yeah.
have 3 different kinds of pies, which we didn't even get to
I
eat.
know, it was so sad.
We had a little bit of the blueberry, and that was it.
I
And
love pie, and I lobbied for this pie. But no, you're right. I mean, I think
and there was no
ultimately-
fanfare. It's like, there's dessert if you want
ultimately
it.
we wanted here's what we're doing. Please be a part of it. We want to feed you. We want to wine and dine you, and most of all, we just want to celebrate with you. And that's what we did.
And that's exactly what we
And
did.
it was literally perfect.
Agreed.
So-
And now we're married.
Now we're married,
And now
which,
it's just no
I think
fun.
now
It's
comes all the
done.
problems, right?
That's right. It's already happening.
So next
Next podcast in
Next
2 weeks is the
podcast.
divorce.
it's literally the divorce. No, but
No,
we'll be back.
we're gonna get back on
watching,
track.
We're watching a few shows. We're
Yeah,
getting
we're
curious about a few relationships that we've seen.
I
in the
haven't
media.
decided what we're going to do for the
So,
next one.
Could be music. It could be movies.
So keep in touch.
Yes.
We are watching a show right now, but I don't know if it deals very much with relationships.
Well,
So
I mean, there's a relationship. Yeah,
but it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So we're probably not going to do that show, but maybe we will. We'll
We're doing our research.
Tune in 2 weeks.
We're doing our due diligence and we're doing our research. But we did want to recap about our wedding because
we got married.
You're listening to a podcast about a relationship, and
that's my ring.
And yes, I put a ring on it, y'all.
Yeah, she put a ring on it, and I put 2 on her.
So, I'm Angel Davis.
And I'm Peter Hermes.
Again, you're listening to Verbally Naked, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, live big.